I have notice of this meeting being held on this third day of April 2025 at 7:31 p.m. has been provided in section 3D of chapter 231 of the public laws of 1975, commonly known as the Sunshine Law. Please rise for the pledge. United States of America and to the republic which stands one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Roll call, please.
New York,
Here.
Nelson, here, Koven,
Here.
Kenny,
Here.
Lindsay,
Here.
O'Brien,
Here.
Decker,
Here.
Mooney, here, thank you.
Thank you. Very much. Open for public comment on the agenda.
I make a motion of public comment on the agenda.
Second, all in favor?
Aye.
Susie Walter, 424 Charlestown Road, resolution 2025-46. Still not understanding why the word borough is in here. Several places for township.
I'll make those edits, that's my error.
I think I might have mentioned it this time, but I remember that. Thank you.
Any other comment on the agenda? Motion to close the public comment on the agenda item? Oh, sorry.
Yes, sorry, I couldn't find it, I read it. So, on resolution 2025-46, it says that you're gonna have a letter sent on the February 6th, right?
That was already sent,
Sorry?
that was already.
I thought, yeah,
Yeah.
March, April.
No, this is an amended resolution, because there was a typo in it, and I guess I missed the borough ones, I got a couple of them, but I guess I
I
missed.
see,
Yeah, so I'll make those corrections,
yes,
and I'll talk about the content of it.
Good. thank you.
Any other public comment on the agenda? Motion to close public comment?
Make a motion to close public comment.
Second, all in favor?
Aye.
Motion to adopt regular and executive session minutes of March 20th, 2025.
Make a motion to adopt regular and executive session minutes of March 20th, 2025.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. A motion to adopt, resolution 2025-45, authorizing return of escrow on block 44.01, lot 2.
Make a motion to adopt resolution 2025-45.
I'll second it. Favor?
Aye.
Motion to adopt resolution 2025-46, round four fellow, amended resolution with further amendments swapping borough for township.
I make a motion to adopt that resolution with those amendments.
Second?
Second that motion.
We got one real question. It's a very second, we can ask questions. Okay. Not good.
There's something we're asked, associated 2025.
Yes.
When I was here, like,
All those in favor?
Aye.
Resolution 2025-47, appointing alternate public defender, A. Rotuno.
I make a motion to adopt resolution 2025-47 on the alternate.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion to adopt resolution 2025-48, award of contract to LMR disposal for the township cleanup day.
I make a motion to adopt resolution 2025-48 for cleanup day.
second that.
We should do a roll call vote.
Cotton,
Yes.
Kenny,
Yes.
Lindsay,
Yes.
Nelson,
Yes.
New York.
Yes.
Thank you.
And I have a motion to pay all bills in the amount of $420,816.92.
I make a motion to pay the bills in that amount.
Second.
A roll call vote on that, please.
Cotton,
Yes.
Kenny,
Yes.
Lindsay,
Yes.
Nelson,
Yes.
New York.
Yes. Board of Municipal Engineer.
Some updates on our various road jobs. Brunswick Pike has been closed out with DOT, and Jen is gonna check that there should have been an electronic deposit of the balance payment there. Fox Farm, we resolved the issue with the pavement. As you might recall, there were some penalties. They had, the contractor for DOT had some additional course taken. those cores were averaged with the cores that we took originally. And, there's a 30% penalty on one of the sections and a 0.5% penalty on the other. I believe those were on this evening's list for payment. The remaining task that needs to be done is basically painting the stop box one. Hickory Ridge, section 1 has been designed. It's into DOT for review. I expect within the next few weeks that DOT will advertise the 2026 fiscal year grant applications. It's our anticipation that we would go for the balance of Hickory Ridge.
Good.
We are also working on our MS4 requirements. I believe at this point we have all the inlets mapped in the township. We also have a good number of pipes, network connected. We need to come up with areas. What we need to have done by the end of this year is what's called the WIP, the Watershed Improvement Plan. And we're collecting all the data for it. DOT or DEP is supposed to issue a template for us to use that was supposed to come out the first of the year, and so far it has not. We've checked with the Highlands as far as the grant money, and because they had certain timeframes, they recognize that DEP is dragging their feet. They're not going to hold us to, I think it was like a July timeframe, so they're going to allow that to get pushed out. So that's all moving well, and we're making progress on it. Also, by the end of the year, we have to come up with the street sweeping plan. Okay.
So I think it appears more manageable after speaking.
What's that?
It appears more manageable.
Yeah.
After speaking to.
Yes. After speaking with the DEP representative that we met with a couple weeks ago, yes, especially with chip seal roads, and we can eliminate a lot of municipal roads. And then the final item I had was the pickleball court. We'll schedule something with the vendor to go out and discuss a location and so forth. We also need to take a look. There's the One Eagle Scout project. We need to make sure that we're not, interfering with each other.
Yeah, he did respond that he's contemplating a few different projects.
Okay.
So, we had an Eagle Scout reach out about a sand volleyball court at Heritage Park, and, if he decides to proceed, I asked him to come and present to the whole Township Committee for approval, but I hadn't exactly review the feasibility of it, so that there's the possibility we wouldn't go down that road, but there is a possibility, but he's also, I think after you saw the drainage, he's looking at some other projects.
It looks great on paper until looks great until you look at the
And
paper.
just put sand on the grass and then.
Yeah, it's not that. You gotta have under drains and all that kind of stuff. And that's all I had for this evening, unless there's any questions.
Any questions for Mr. Decker? I'm gonna ask Mr. Decker if we could, might potentially need your expertise for a discussion item under new business.
Okay.
I do not see any public safety officials present, so we'll table that report. There's no old business, so we get right into new business, discussion of Leak Farmhouse status, relocation of wood beams at Heritage Park. I think these are really two items, but I have a motion to open this discussion.
And make a motion to open this discussion.
Second.
All in favor? So we'll, begin discussing, presenting amongst ourselves.
Yeah, I mean, this isn't my discussion after talking with some residents about it. And I go down there a lot, and obviously the house is deteriorating. We had been in it a couple of years ago, and when I was hoping to maybe do something with it, basically the public had spoken and said, okay, really not feasible to do anything with that house. So we had tarped it, we had just sort of sealed it up, and now the tarp is pretty much almost all the way off the roof. Roof looks like it's starting to get some holes in it, and I guess this is where Tom, my guess is that the house is life, it's coming to end of life. I don't know if we need to go back in there and look for asbestos, and I don't get it up to the rest of the committee, but I'm thinking it's reaching its end point in terms of maybe needing to come down.
But the committee members feel.
Come down, it's time to come down, so there's.
Yeah.
Before.
Yeah, we thought we tried, obviously it could happen, so let's take that before I see a bigger liability and, I mean, it was somehow.
I don't.
Doesn't hurt. If we choose to take it down, then I would suggest that we grade it, clear it appropriately, and it's still a beautiful venue, and some of the things we talked about is making it available for events or weddings, people can still rent a tent or do something. It's, like I said, the views back there are beautiful, and it could be graded an appropriate way to make it as.
Yeah, if you look at the way, if you go behind the house, the way it's kind of graded down, you've actually, no, I had talked with this about somebody, can actually make it into some sort of outdoor amphitheater or something, because you have the levels of ground. So it's not like you can't do anything with that property. It's just that right now, the house just isn't feasible.
Still nothing to loss of the barn, we had grants, the house is not as critical to me, after the loss of the barn. And also because like you shared the topography, I still think there's something that we can creatively do in that space that could still be a benefit to our residents.
So, right, so do we have to get back in there to look at asbestos and how that?
I did this at the Hall
Okay,
track in Union, they had some buildings that were being demolished. So the first step is having an environmental assessment of the building itself. Determine if there's asbestos, what the limits of the asbestos are and so forth, because that has to be, you know, there's a process for how you have to demo that and dispose of it. Okay, so the first step is evaluating that. And then what we did in Union was we went to bid. And basically put the onus on, you know, getting all the disposal permits and everything on the contractor. And, you know, demonstrating a, you know, disposal site and all that, and kind of made it into more of a turnkey type operation. So, you know, coming up with the bid specs and everything is fairly straightforward for a demo project. The first step is just finding out what do we have, you know, because it could just be floor tiles, it could be ceiling tiles, it could be asbestos around the fireplace.
and given the time that the house was renovated, especially if you look at the kitchen.
Yeah.
It wouldn't surprise me.
And not particularly, for burn, especially if there's asbestos, but when we first acquired it, the fire companies and the CERT team performed a search and rescue and a smoke exercise, so, I would suggest we make that same offer to the fire companies before we, tear it down, so it's a great opportunity
Oh,
to do that, because you don't find something like that for the fire companies all trained together, so. I would suggest we look at that, figure out that may play into, that will damage it too much, but play into the demolition.
For future use, just to go back to the original plans before we ever built out Everly Park. You know, there were all a lot of thoughts that went into the plans, much of which never got built. And maybe we'll see something that,
That'd be great.
yeah, we might not be able to do now, because now we have space and those. Service.
It was a bad show.
Really? Well, that's what I'm saying, that's what I
There were a
just
couple of
said,
things.
if you go behind the house, there could be a van shell that could actually go on that property behind where the house is now. It's got the perfect, it's the perfect venue for it. Okay.
So do you want me to try to solicit some quotes from environmental outlets to do that, or you want to do that in-house?
So I have a motion to authorize Mr. Decker to solicit environmental assessment quotes as the first step with the demolition of the Lee farmhouse.
I'll make that motion.
All in favor?
Aye. And then there's a second part of this discussion too. Do we need to vote on just the, I guess we're already voting or, okay, so then the second half of this, which is when the barn came down, you did a great job in trying to salvage what you could out of that. So there are some of the original support beams sitting back here, a lot of the, I'm guessing even some of the roofing beams, I haven't looked at it in a while, that I guess are still in decent shape, but aren't gonna be in decent shape for much longer because they are kind of sitting in in the swampy type area. So we have had somebody come and volunteer to move them at least to a different location. And then it would be up to the committee, would we want to just give it away to people, or do we think we can get something, or, yeah, what's?
We'd have to take them out of gun deals.
Because I'm sure there's some artisans in town that would want it for mantles and things like that.
Yeah, that's a great idea. Yeah, but I go to that, maybe something will buy it.
We have to, unfortunately, so we'll do that quicker, so we have a couple items, they'll be this year, not the betting. So
Okay,
there shouldn't be as much of a delay, we already know what they are, so
okay,
we'll try to get those up early summer, so the beams don't deteriorate, and what, yeah. Unfortunately, we can't, love to just do something like that away, but.
yeah, so I've had people ask me like, oh, I could do this and that with them, or I'd like to do this and
I mean, I mean, they're only bidding $1 for them, because we can't open things, but of course, we would follow
so do we want to have them move from where they are now to at least, I guess, to drier land?
them. Yeah, I would say yes.
Okay,
You might want to inspect them too.
yeah, because you can't let people go back to where they are now, it's too dangerous.
So you have a motion to add the beams to our ongoing or existing list of items to be put on municipal bid or gov deals.
I'll make that motion.
Second, all in favor?
Maybe too much is probably getting back here behind the, I don't know what else is wire.
We'd have to ask somebody who would want to.
I don't know, are you guys can move here, or how big are you need?
They're sizable.
Well, hey, just put them up on the shoulder, maybe.
Maybe
Well,
one.
he could.
Maybe one.
Me, I couldn't, but you know. Okay,
Motion to close.
okay, make a motion to close discussion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Next discussion item, a $75 charge for food truck vendors during township sponsored events at Area Park. A motion to open this discussion.
I make a motion to open discussion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
So this was, came up as part of our audit review. Charge.
Yeah, Jen might be able to clarify, but, or maybe it was Chris, I forget where, we need to do this by resolution in terms of what we're charging vendors at the Heritage Market.
We haven't charged.
We've been charging, hasn't always been a consistent process, so I think we need to make this into a consistent process. It was suggested that we make the charge reasonable enough so that the town gets something, but also what the town would be charged if we would have gotten fined if something would have gone wrong. Given, I've been talking to some of the vendors, some of the people that are coming back this year versus some of the complaints that they had last year. What we were charging, even though we had lowered it, was still probably too much for them. If you're charging $2 for an empanada and you're charging $150 for the license, it's almost impossible to make a profit. So I think slashing that in half, I think is still, in good faith, but they still will be able to make their money. I just thought that was a good number.
Well, I think we're gonna I think that's as long as it covers
It covers our expenses, yeah.
So, a motion to adopt a resolution to officially charge $75 for food truck vendors during township sponsored events at Heritage Park.
I make that motion?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Motion to close discussion.
Make a motion to close discussion?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Report municipal zoning official, that was email. Again, if you want to see complete reports. Report of Department of Public Works, that was email, we would like to share.
I'll just think they've done a lot now that things are, the weather's getting a little nicer, and they're starting all of the cleanup around town. They've, of course, taken care of a lot of trees. They're getting ready for cleanup day, and taking down all the snow fences and the stakes.
Very good. And then report of tax collector, email, report of animal control official, email, report of municipal planning board, email, no report from the CADB. The report of animal licensing official, also email, report of municipal assessor, email, report of township attorney.
So I guess just have two things. The first thing is the court had a hearing for our COA compliance for round 4. And Judge Menon on March 27th issued an order memorializing our requirements. There's 0 current need and there's 51 prospective need for affordable units, which means that we just have to provide reasonable opportunity for affordable housing. And I know the planning board and your planner, Mike Davis, are working on coming up with that report in anticipation of the June 30th deadline. The other issue is a resident had asked about a small vacant parcel located at 1069 Route 173. They were interested in purchasing that. It was a small area that was near Mine Road. That was a township owned property. It's approximately 0.5 acres. So anytime that there's township property that needs to be sold, it's governed by a statute, 40A:12-13, which is a statute that's called Local Lands and Buildings Act. And what that says is if any time a township wants to sell property, first they have to give an opportunity for any adjacent parcel owners to make a blind bid on the premises. This property has been assessed by Laura Whitaker, our tax assessor, at $15,000. So I'd like the board to authorize that would be the minimum bid. It would then be, I would send a letter. It would be a blind bid process for the 2 neighbors. The one we know is interested, but the other one has a legal right to make a bid on it. So it's really just a question of, are you okay with that amount? I think that's reasonable. It's half an acre. So that's the question.
I just have a couple questions. Do we own this because it was a tax sale at some point? And is there any other revenue we need to recoup other than the assessed value?
I'm gonna put that in the resolution because I left that part blank because I have some conflicting historical data on this property.
And then are there any other costs that, and are we allowed to include those costs in the minimum bid?
Well, typically, like you can make a requirement that it's cleared of any structure or you could impose conditions. But I think it's vacant and essentially the owners basically say, hey, we want to maintain this area, nobody else is. So we can impose those reasonable conditions. I added a condition that if an adjacent lot owner bids on it, that it be merged with their lot. We don't want an isolated 0.5 acre lot on Route 173. But other than that, we just got to give them an opportunity to bid. It'll be an envelope that'll be open for a few days, that we can, as you've done in the past, that we'll have any bids come in and then, the highest bid will be the winner.
So the resolution, if we keep the 15,000 minimum bid, would be 15,000 in addition to any outstanding tax that need to be collected.
Well, it's exempt because it's township owned.
I know we own it, but did we require that for closure or cost?
Well, when I look at the aerial, it looks like there's improvements on it, but the adjacent property owner said that it was township property that was just never used. So I need to clarify that, because when I look on New Jersey Web, it looks like there's some structure on it. And I would want that clear. Maybe Tom, we can take a look at it. I can actually after the meeting.
Yep.
I'll clean up, I didn't put it on the agenda because I really have to go through some of the other conditions and look at the title history. Because, obviously we're selling it as is and they're taking it subject to any title deficiencies. So I think I want to do just a preliminary, like at least see where it is, see what's on it. Do we want to make any requirements that, anything be demoed or any other requirements?
Okay. Yeah.
So I'll draft the resolution subject to the minimum bid.
Okay. I'll we have a motion to authorize drafting the resolution as minimum bid, pending any other issue.
That motion.
Second. All in favor? Aye. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Anything else from your report?
That's all.
Thank you. Report of personnel technical support coordinator, Ms. Nelson.
So we did have email issues up here earlier this week. They have since been resolved. It was some type of protocol transfer issue. So if anybody did try to email us within, I think it was like maybe a 36-hour period, Jen, something like that.
Yeah.
I apologize for anything that might have bounced back or, may have just gone into cyberspace, but all of the issues have been resolved.
Thank you for following.
Yeah.
Report the road coordinator, there's also anything else to add to the
I do. So last Tuesday, Jeff and I did canvass the town, trying to follow in JCP&L's footsteps. We have looked at all the trouble spots in town and we have marked, probably, don't quote me on this, I don't know, around 30 to 35 trees, that possibly could be taken down. Now, we have to go back through again because JCP&L is continuing their work and I'm very appreciative of that. So maybe they may have already taken down some of the ones we've marked, so they're gonna go back through. We're kind of taking a big approach and whittling it down. So some of what we've marked, however fast we can stretch the $50,000 that the town has, 37 of which was a grant. We don't know how much that's gonna get us. So we'll go again and we'll prioritize them down, and so that'll be a bit of a process over the next month to 6 weeks or whatever.
Thank you for taking the time.
Yep, and that's it.
Report, Joint Professional Service Coordinator, I have nothing to update this evening. Report of Highlands Council Coordinator, Ms. Nelson.
Nothing to add. I did report to the Environmental Commission, didn't really have a meeting, but I did meet with Oliver regarding their stance on the property over in Union Township across from Spruce Run, and they are opposed to any development over there. That was theirs, and they back Union Township on that. I do believe it's still showing as open on their website, but the reason why they're leaving it up is just in case, I think it's the DEP that's looking at that property. They haven't specifically said that they're moving on from there, so they're leaving it open from that. And I had given that update to Oliver at the environmental. It wasn't really a meeting because I believe the official meeting was canceled, but I met up with him.
Okay.
Yeah.
Excellent. A report of governing body members, Mr. Kyle.
Nothing to report.
Okay.
I just want to give two kudos. Number one, we had at least a couple of minor, we'll call it minor, but what usually happens, power outages recently. And I just wanted to say, it seemed to come back faster, and the notifications that went out to everybody that what's going on was also much faster, especially for me. I was, because by the time I told my wife, to report that, I looked online and I saw your report, so that's really kudos to you. And the same thing, I've been up in the park a lot lately, and I have to say, the guys are up there, one day they're up there really early, cleaning up, the park's in great shape, considering all the windstorms we've had, and the branches and the broken rain, and they've been doing a great job, so I just want to, have to do a great job, let them know.
I'll let them know, absolutely. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Leslie.
Just a couple quick things, sent an email out, Judy, May 1st, we have the first safety committee meeting, we were here, they had a department, we walk around the park.
Excellent.
Just to check everything out, to make sure, well, the speed with everything, having sure company gives any recommendations, that they need to be taken care of, that we should address.
Mr. Campbell, starting.
Yeah, Mr. Campbell will be there, Julie will be there, DPW members will be there, so we do with that. And then number two, Jen, have you heard back from our IT company yet? Because I haven't heard anything, the email you sent them in regards to the updates and the.
I have not heard of follow up.
Great, thank you.
Report of town administrator.
So one issue I'm having is that the roof is leaking in the past flooders office. For the tile from the ceiling, I know we talked about this last year. Tuesday, the tile was wet again, it was a fresh. So I know Carl had gotten some quotes to redo the roof, but it was a year ago, so it's something, I don't know what we want to do.
Did we replace that roof?
I thought it was cash.
We just passed it.
We did nothing.
Yeah, no, but I remember we had this discussion years ago. I thought we did something.
Well, I don't know about years ago, but last year we had another, it was leaking again, they gave a quote to replace the whole roof, 2 quotes.
But I don't know if the whole roof needs to be replaced.
Right,
Yeah.
so we just kind of let it go,
Exactly.
it seemed like it kind of, with the summer and whatnot, and then, you know, everything that happened, it kind of fell to the side. So anyway, it was, I heard ceiling tile was wet again.
Okay, so I don't know how we verify, but I'm just gonna review, because I don't remember conversations, because obviously it's about the ways we do it as a municipality. But I thought DPW replaced that roof in-house.
Yeah.
Because I remember one of
I
the,
don't,
you said that patching? Okay,
and that's probably the fault of that. That's what happens, because it's flat, and the problem with it is, just because it's leaking over a tile, that doesn't mean it's leaking.
Coming somewhere.
It could be coming off the other side of the water finds its own way, right? And it just travels down to where it decides to correct. So and you can't let that happen inside, because then you're gonna have tremendous.
I'm gonna suggest Jeff should have some institutional knowledge, and if not, maybe we should get quotes.
Yeah, I mean, he was looking up there, we did see where the insulation was at, but, with the wind that we had Monday night, or, you know, over, I don't know.
Well, see, that's what I'm talking, because the wind will blow the water,
Yeah,
and, you know, leak here, but it's really, you know, it's coming from over there, it's hard to tell.
well,
You gotta actually.
I had to reach out and get some quotes. Right, Jeff, reach out.
Okay,
He suggested your company. We can get quotes.
all right.
Alright.
Then electronic recycling, so we have a company, I have to write their name down, but they will be here for town plant day.
Okay, excellent.
That's a very electronic recycling.
There will be electronic recycling.
Thank you, excellent.
The playground equipment from our grant, that has been shipped, so that we should be getting that shortly. DPW will be installing that down at the playground, so,
Excited?
yeah.
Yeah.
Little project for them to do.
Yeah.
And then I have one item for, executive personnel.
Okay. Thank you. Report of mayor,
You skipped over these.
oh, I'm sorry. So I would say, because you're on all the reports tonight, so that's why you skipped, because you had things. Let's go back to governing body members. Yeah.
Well, so, you know, I'm so sorry, Jenna, I skip over you when I lead a meeting. Now I lost my train of thought. Some of this is a repeat of last week, but I kind of want to keep the advertisements going, and that I did manage to secure 175 trees for cleanup day. Not as many as I would have liked, but this year they are kind of restricting.
They restricted the program was suspended this year, actually, so it was a different process.
Different process.
Yes, their statement was they were allowing the cultivation to go another year, because
Exactly.
so thank you for doing that, because we did reach out to the municipalities, it was difficult to.
Yeah, it was a little tedious, so I did manage to get 175. Usually it's 5 per resident. I may limit that to 3. I haven't decided yet, because I don't want them to go way too fast. So I haven't really decided. I'm leaning towards 3 per resident, and then we'll see how it goes. Also, I have secured, and I thank you to the Cub Scouts, for really doing most of the legwork on securing a company to come for the clothing drive. So that will be happening on cleanup day again this year. Heritage Market is underway with its planning, as we talked about tonight. We talked about the inventory of trees, talked about JCP&L. And then, Jen, if I am correct, our zoning officer, Sarah, will be visiting us at our meeting on May 14th, is it? May 1st. So she will be here for the May 1st meeting.
Yeah, excellent.
Okay, now I'm done.
Thank you. Any questions for? Report of Mayor, I have a few items, but in consideration of the first one up front, I think, you thought Ms. Mooney are aware of this. And Mr. Clipstein, if you wanted to join us, we've had the opportunity to, and then Ms. Cochran, if you'd like to join the conversation as well. We had the opportunity to create a trail in honor of Tom Koven, on the Shenandoah property, splitting the cost of creating that with the water authority. I think it's something that we should definitely pursue. I had some questions about maintenance and liability that we've covered earlier today, but Ken, if you'd like to.
Terrific, yeah, thank you. So for the last 18 years, I've been Director of Watershed Protection with the New Jersey Water Supply Authority. My last day was actually this past Monday, so I'm officially retired. John Jimenez approached me, I think it was October last year, after Tom Koven is my uncle, my mother's younger brother. And so when John called and said he'd like to, Bethlehem Township and some of the folks here thought it would be great to do something in Tom's memory. The Shenandoah Hendershot 2 property is, that, as everybody knows, jointly owned property. The authority currently mows that. It's passive recreation. There isn't a lot of trails, although there's some trail planning going on there. So the suggestion was to build a memorial trail. So we worked with John and we looked at, I have a map here we could pass around. I sent this to the mayor. It's about a little under a third of a mile. It's a loop trail. It's all in the woods. No specimen trees, no hardwoods. It's mostly invasives there until you get down into the back. This is the property that neighbors, Tom and Barbara's property. And Tom had propagated from nuts on his property, American chestnut. So there's a sort of American chestnut grove too, which is very cool. So that's part of this third of a mile trail walk. We were concerned about parking. There's not really any organized parking there. There's a couple of entrances, potential entrances that are gated. So what we talked about and what we laid out was to have parking for a couple of cars where the existing gate is right across from Mine Road in Charlestown. So that intersection right across, we'd move the gate back a little bit and allow for a couple parking spots there. So it's a nice trail, easy to maintain. So that was a concern. That was a concern of ours because, you know, the cost of buying things is one thing, but the long-term cost of maintaining is a whole nother thing. So this is, you know, we designed it with low maintenance in mind. We sought a couple of, we looked to get a couple bids on this. I wanted to get an idea of what this might cost. And I was surprised actually that it came in. We got 2 quotes. We reached out for 3 to meet procurement law, and first quote came in at a little over $8,000, which I thought was pretty good. The second one came in at just over $5,000. So, and we did reach out a couple other vendors, but they declined to put in a proposal. The timing was an issue for us because we wanted to get this done before leaf out. It'd be easy to get in there. It's 2 days work. So the proposal is to move forward with this as soon as possible. The authority would do the contracting. We would suggest splitting the cost with Bethlehem Township. We'd be looking at a little over $5,000 for this project. We'd like to move forward. We'd like to get it done. I think so I've turned it over, but I want to, you know, obviously this is one I want to stay involved with. So
Still be part.
Right. Yeah.
Any questions from the committee? So what I would recommend is just for safety and so if we do this vote, I would ask for a motion in support and dedicating $4,000 of open space funds in case it exceeds the 5 to your match, and that we proceed with this plan.
Much appreciated.
So I'll make that motion. Is there a second?
I'll second.
And I just have a roll call vote on it, just because it's unsure.
Cotton,
Yes.
Kenny,
Yes.
Lindsay,
Yes.
Nelson,
Yes,
Mueller.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, sure. Yeah, I was just asking, you can coordinate with myself, if they get, there's money involved at this point with the funding portion of it, so however we proceed with that, we can work together on that.
Terrific. Thank you all.
Thank you for coming out to help share the story. My other reports. I just shared with the trees at JCP&L. I know at the last meeting, there was approval to park the tree trucks at Heritage Park. So they're gonna be there for another 3 weeks. I did share, I think at the, one of the meetings a few weeks ago, Mr. Lindsay and I, an update, we was attending the meeting with the Dylan Peterson and JCP&L. I summarized that meeting and the results for the public on the community page and my mayor page. The anticipation is that these trees are the most significant and first step in having a resilient electric grid by 2025, and then taking to another level by the end of 2026 with some additional investment in the surrounding electric grid. So we're excited to see the trucks there. That's their first evidence and commitment of that. The other one was minor, but in surrounding us, not necessarily minor, but Mr. Lindsay, we've been addressing this issue with trucks on Charlestown Road. It's not in Bethlehem Township, but it affects Bethlehem Township with trucks making a right-hand turn. They took out a telephone pole last week, amongst creating a lot of traffic. And so I reached out to DOT, asking them, Mr. Lindsay shared a suggestion of some traffic signs put on 173, so the trucks know not to turn before they get on the road. So right now they're turning, then seeing the sign, turning around and creating issues. So we'll continue to work with DOT to follow up on that. The other DOT issue, again, not in Bethlehem Township, and I copy, when I reach out to DOT, I copy Mayor DiGirolamo on the union issue. But also there's construction on the 3178 merge that is now putting in cars all the way into the traffic lane on 78, not just in the morning. The morning is the most dangerous because it's high school traffic and you have new drivers, you have commuters to the hospital, to our largest employer, you have trucks. And the sign stating the construction is on the ramp and not back in the highway. So same thing, I copied Mayor Malay and reached out to DOT because I've had some residents ask about that as well. So just sharing some of the activities. The other larger activity is we've been discussing on our planning board, and of course, there's a lot of public discourse about the Tinsley project in Bloomsbury. So the mayor of Bloomsbury and I have been coordinating to work with county commissioners across both counties, trying to find a proper solution to that development. And I would share Bloomsbury is being very proactive. I appreciate they've hired special counsel and a special planner. There is a meeting tomorrow night at the Bloomsbury Firehouse, if anybody would like to go. And the next planning board meeting for Greenwich is April 10th to attend. So we are trying to work as closely as we can with Bloomsbury and support them and bringing in the counties to try to find some sort of joint support. And then my last question, which I've had a resident reach out, and also is another DOT issue that Mr. Decker's helped me out with. Fountain Grove Road is a Bethlehem Township road. Serves about 5 or 6 Glen Garden residents and about 100 Bethlehem Township residents. And it is severely deteriorated. Glen Garden does have a DOT grant to repair that road, replace the surface.
Bethlehem Township Road or?
It's Glen Garden Road. Oh, sorry. Yeah, part of deteriorated. Glen Garden. I've had a few of our Bethlehem Township residents ask if we can do any temporary pothole repair on another township road, and I said, I think there's probably procedures that are probably, if there wasn't a DOT grant in place, I would probably try to find some ways to do this, but I think there might not be enough of a time horizon. I don't know if this is legal, if we work till.
I mean, if you get their consent, absolutely.
So we've done.
Hot rods, hot dogs.
Yeah. We've done, we have a problem with that on the snowplow, grass.
Yeah, we are.
Maybe it's something we can come to the agreement that we do this, but that is small pieces of the road that they don't worry about. We are all worried.
Like I said, it's about 100 residents who are
Right.
on top of the hill, plus another one around the corner. So if nobody's opposed, I will ask, Mr. Lee to go out and give us an assessment of what the pothole cost would be, maybe with some material on hand. That was the other thing I shared, because there's state regulations and how we treat potholes, we don't keep the material around anymore like we used to. So it's not like we can just go and grab it out of the garage and go fill, so, I will ask, and if it's not exorbitant, we'll make some temporary. I'll reach out to Mayor Schroeder. Okay. That was all that I had. That's what we discussed. Have a motion to open public comment?
Make a motion to open for public comment?
Second. All in favor? Actually, Mr. Decker, if you would like to leave for public comment, I don't think there's.
That's fine. Here's my, that's
Oh,
all.
you do it? Okay, there's apparently a question for you, sorry. We'll ask you just that.
Yeah.
Do you want to go first?
No, that's okay, that's, he's gonna stay.
I would just say,
We'll make a session.
Suzanne Wanda, 424 Charlestown Road, a few things I hope I don't forget. The zoning report, you said you were gonna report if there were any complaints or
Yes, I think there were, spreadsheet. Yeah, there is a spreadsheet with the, like.
Okay. you were gonna report back to them?
Yeah, I think we have to figure out, removing right now, the way the report is, it has the resident's name on there. And so we'll have to figure out a way to create a public report.
Can be block and block, no?
Yeah, a lot of is on there now, but the names are on the report.
So a public report that you could have printed out of
But
it?
yes, I would try to do that.
Okay, that would be good. And relating to the zoning, past complaints with the prior zoning officer. They exist, correct?
They're supposed to, yeah.
So if the current zoning officer says that she has no record of them, what happens?
They have to be refiled.
That doesn't seem correct. I mean, it was an official filing from people who aren't on this earth anymore. Peter, Tom, that's makes no sense to me.
Yeah, it's an issue, and like I said, I've shared before, I have to be cautious how I share, it's a personnel issue, but there's a reason we have a zoning officer.
So it is a personnel issue. So how will that not happen again?
We've made some internal changes in how it's recorded, we've added some additional staff to support that function, so there's not just one individual monitoring anymore.
So going forward, we can't change the past, which is amazing to me. Going forward, you giving a record in every meeting that will help, at least the public have the records, at least something. Because now it's like, oh, there was never anything filed, which is not true.
Agreed?
So, okay,
I think we should be commended for taking the proper action in that instance.
well, it seemed to me that it would be a no-brainer of not doing it, but thank you for getting the zoning officer here for the meeting, so I could meet her to her face instead of talking about her all the time behind her back. A question about the ordinance that was passed in February, or whatever, with the buffers. So the table 8, required minimum buffer widths. I had questions then, and I still have questions, so it talks about land use, adjacent land use. And industrial, so land use is that, is that a zone, like what does that mean?
Well, so in any zoning ordinance, there will be a list of permitted uses, accessory uses, and conditional uses. So when we look at the word industrial, if it's defined as a permitted use, then there's, you look to what we call SIC codes for industrial uses. And, so there's just many different types of industrial uses. Okay, so the challenge of the zoning ordinance is to narrowly define what's permitted uses or impose conditional uses. If you don't meet the permitted use, or you don't meet the use, with the permitted use with the conditions, then that would remove the jurisdiction of the planning board and send it over to the Board of Adjustment, zoning board of adjustment, for a D1 use variance or a D2 conditional use variance. So to answer your question, like typically, like, you know, you'll see residential use will have residences, churches, farming, things like that. So each different zone has defined principal permitted uses, and, you know, so that,
I got it,
so there's, I don't,
and we increase the usage of highway commercial.
correct.
So where is, the definition of industrial is somewhere in our ordinances, or is it somewhere in the state, defined in the state?
I don't know off the top of my head.
So
but I
how
believe
can,
it's a
how,
principal permitted use.
it is, where is
I
that
don't-
defined?
I don't believe that industrial is a principal permitted use in the B zone.
So this table and the fact that we added, you know, we changed it under 5 acres, over 5 acres to be consistent with the master plan, when these highway commercial mountain residentials are now highway commercial. Are you saying now that this is not applicable to those properties that we were told? We're now increasing the buffer to make it consistent with their master plan. So are you saying these aren't applicable to those properties?
I mean, the language in the new zoning regulations as a result of the master plan reexamination, they speak for themselves. Those are what we call bulk standards.
Okay,
So you have your use standards, which talk about the principal permitted uses. And then you have bulk standards, which are generally like thought of as dimensional. You need such setbacks, you know, floor area ratio, impervious surfaces, things like that. So if the uses are permitted, then they have to comply. If the use is permitted, that's the first question, right? Is this use permitted or is it a conditional use? Okay? If it's not, you either need a D1 or D2 use variance.
It
that's,
still falls under the zoning, so it's highway commercial, is it permitted or not permitted?
that's my question.
Yeah,
That is my
It
question.
sounds like you're trying to undermine the buffer, you don't like the buffers?
No,
That's what it
I'm
sounds
trying to understand them. I'm not trying to undermine anything. It was my question when the ordinance was passed. I'm trying to understand why this table changed with this ordinance that talked about the change in use of highway commercial and the merging, trying to understand how, as, let's say a zoning officer comes and says, okay, your industrial use, is that the entire property? Is that, you know, what that means? I'm trying to understand. I'm not trying to undermine anything. I'm trying to understand. I'm asking questions,
I appreciate
and
that.
I feel like I'm not getting answers, the same questions that I had when this ordinance was passed in the first place.
Well, the buffers were increased.
No, I understand that, but
So that's a change to the bulk standards in the zone.
But where is the definition of industrial defined in our ordinances, and how does it relate to highway commercial, which this ordinance
And
was
any
dealing
of the
with?
zones that are not residential.
Hmm?
Right?
I'd be happy to-
Is it industrial or is it residential?
Well, this table talks about agricultural, residential type A, residential type B, retail, neighborhood commercial, other retail, professional office. I'm just trying to understand.
I'm failing to see what, like industrial, I don't know.
Yeah, exactly. What does industrial mean?
Yeah, and,
Well, is it a permitted use in any
yeah,
of the zones?
which of the zones do you think would fit under industrial?
I have no idea, but I know that it was part of this ordinance that is talking about highway commercial. Maybe I'm on Mars or something, because
And I'm trying to help out, I mean, highway commercial, how would you think highway commercial would be an industrial use?
I have no idea, I'm asking.
I think that's the zoning.
Mr. O'Brodnick, well, exactly, and Mr. O'Brodnick and Ken Chalet both referred to that 173 corridor as an industrial zone. Both of them did.
No.
I
this is
didn't
like
do that.
optional. I said there's industrial type uses. That
Mm,
doesn't mean it's that industrial is permitted, like, for example, and again, you can parse out all different types of uses. So there's light industrial, there's light manufacturing, there's heavy manufacturing, there's warehousing. I don't believe industrial is a permitted principal use in the zone. So, just to describe an area as industrial type uses really doesn't mean anything. Because what we really need to look at, are what are the principal permitted uses in the zone?
That's what's gonna be the primary. I think the planner used that as an umbrella term, so that each, in like commercial zone, doesn't have to be identified. So it's just commercial zone, it's industrial.
Okay, no, I'm still confused, but I'll try to understand that. But then when we talk about the buffer, is that the entire property, or is that where the activity for being industrial taking place?
That's a good question. I would address that to the planner.
I did ask this question during the review of this ordinance. I asked that exact same question.
Yeah, that's a good question. I agree with you.
So it got ignored. I did ask that question. And then so I'm still very confused, but whatever. And I'm not trying to derail anything. I'm trying to understand. Because if we have ordinances, then we should be able to have them enforced, and to have them enforced should be clearly defined. But anyway, then my next thing is Judy, when you work with the road department, and I went out there with Carl last whatever on Blackbrook Road, and I showed him what I meant. If you can work on the vines that are going up trees, I think you're gonna help a lot with trees not coming into the road. For instance, there's a wisteria that's makes the tree base in the summer. You have like that much room because of the vines. So I think my personal feeling is that if you tackle the vines that are pulling diseased trees or dead trees, work on that. All you have to do is chop them at the bottom. So.
Yeah, no, I agree, wisteria grows exponentially.
Well, it's the bittersweet.
Yeah, and the mile, what they call mile.
No, that doesn't pull down trees. That's not that thick a vine. The bittersweet, I showed him and I have pictures of it. The
Yeah.
vines are this big and they
Yeah,
twist.
I see 'em and then, yeah, I understand, yeah, we can take a look.
So when you're out there, I think
Yeah,
it would.
yeah, we can back out, I'll take a look. I know
Be
exactly
worth
what you're
it.
talking about. I've gone through my property and I've ripped all of that stuff out.
Exactly. Yeah, if you just cut them back and then.
But the plan is to let JCP&L do their work first,
Yeah.
and then we'll use our grant funds, and then
Yeah,
those fines are gonna be outside of that scope. We'll do those ourselves with our DPW.
right,
Well, she can, when they're out there, she can be paying attention and then maybe put a flag or something if they want to come later or whatever, but.
Good.
And if you want help identifying videos, I can. Thank you.
thank you.
Thank you. That's it.
Currently, I'm at 102 Blossom Road. Mr. Decker.
Yes.
On the Fox Farm, you're saying percentage, 25%, 30%, is that not paved or not enough pavement or not paved? Can you explain that? to me?
Sure. After all the DOT projects, immediately after we have the roads scored, what's required by DOT. So I think before they go to the lab tests them for, compaction.
Okay,
And the first round of cores that we had done, came back with a remove and replace on one section because the compaction was not met. They measured both the thickness and the compaction, and compaction was not met. So we advised provided the results to the contractor. There is a provision in DOT where within a certain time period, they can engage an independent coring company, different than ours because they have to be separate. They went out, they took cores, their cores came back with 15% and one that was not a penalty. But when you put them together, we ended up with 30% on one section and 0.5% on the other section. So what happens is we apply that to their payment request. So as far as the payment, the pavement item, they get paid 100% for the milling. The pavement, they would have gotten paid 70% of the.
that's just the percentage taken on.
Yeah.
I got you, all right.
Yeah.
One other question, I think for you, all right, now it's another. With the zoning officer, we lost a lot of paperwork, I believe. What's the update on, Gross Road, where the guy brought in like 300 loads of
We brought in the 300, the loads.
plus?
They submitted a soil report that only had a few, I think, 2 samples. It was not enough. I do need to follow up with the new zoning officer. The previous zoning officer did not issue any, directive as far as submitting the fees and everything for us to review
Okay,
the soil report. I've taken a look at it. They need to do more, so
Okay.
that has to be done. But they're supposed to submit an application for the soil report, which they have not done yet. So
okay. And then your said grants for 2026 are coming out, or something for the state?
yeah, every year around April, DOT announces application period for the following year's fiscal year funding. So they'll make that announcement typically in April. We have to submit the applications usually, I think, beginning of July. And then that goes to all the municipalities, they submit, and then we find out typically in November around election time.
Is that for any roads, or is that just for paving, or just?
It's for paving. You can use it for road improvements, whether it's paving, whether it's drainage and so forth. What we've been able to do, because we don't get, unfortunately, the Hunterdon County municipalities don't get as much as some other areas. So we've been getting $130,000 to $150,000, which doesn't typically go very far. So what we try to do all that in paving, because we can get that reimbursed, and we can get the paving done through the Morris County Co-op, which have very good prices. It's like $79 a ton applied. But it costs you $90 some to go pick it up. So we do that, and then DPW will do a lot of the prep. Brunswick Pike was a different situation, because we wanted to get that done in a quick time frame. So we bid that out, and Top Line did that.
Right. Here's a question for Paul. Is it, my shop 173, there's at least 2 mornings a week, it's backed up traffic on that road because of 78, okay? Can't we look into getting Bellwood Park Road opened up just to save some people from trying to get out? Because sometimes there's bumper to bumper up the hill or down the hill, and people try to get in and out of that road. If we can do something with Bellwood Park Road, that's why I was asking about grants. If we can get something, I'm not saying this year, next year, but something in the works for that to open that road up.
Opposed, that's complicated, but I'm not opposed. I'll talk to Mr. Decker about it. I think that same thing would end up stacking probably 2 or 3 years worth of grants.
Yeah,
I
yeah, and it's,
Well, we can do is so much a year, but I think we should need that walk. We gotta take a look, because I've never seen it either. I'd like to see
I
what.
found some pictures. Actually, the last time I was out there was actually with Mr. Koven. We stood on the edge together. I don't like heights, but I trusted Tom to hold me. But it's interesting. It's
typically the DOT funds are more maintenance, resurfacing type projects.
Right.
Complete road reconstruction is.
I know, but it would help. I think it would benefit the town residents in that area.
That was the major, that I do, that was the major thoroughfare, we fortunately development is completed up on tops of the hills to get back out to. So, yeah, I've seen it, and then I'm not an engineer, my concern is there's no support that blasted through, so that there's nothing there to hold up, to have to figure out some sort of stabilization to be able to fill to get the road then.
I'm in communication with the quarry, and I'm trying to work something with them guys to try to donate some stuff.
If they're willing to take the fill and put it back there first and provide some sort of engineering, I mean, I'm open to all options.
Okay.
I want to make sure we don't.
I've never seen, that's why I said I wanted to take that walk and see if this is I think it's been there like 35 years, I believe, someplace.
95, 6, I think it was.
Yeah.
94.
When I first got here, I was riding my bike and there was a hole in my map and I'm riding and I didn't know where I was going, and that's exactly where the hole is.
That was 94.
Yeah, that would take, several years. worth.
Yeah, I saw it when the quarry, when the current owner purchased it, he had to come in and do a reclamation plan and apply for the quarry license, so that's part of the planning board. We walked the site inside and out, and, it's interesting. I'll see if I can find some pictures, but I'll go, I mean, probably overgrown a little bit more, but I'll go.
Yeah, but it's a good time of year to take a look at it now. Now, one other question. When you're done be soliciting, bids or requests for to do the walkthrough through the Fleet Farmhouse. We have a grant from Highlands, didn't we, to do some research on that building?
We ended up forfeiting that and moving it to, it was like $19,000 left, I forget, we moved the money out of that grant, yeah.
Can we find out where that went?
I could find out, but, I forget what project we moved it to, so it is no longer available for that,
All right,
for the house.
I would like to know where it went. Oh, that's,
Yeah,
all right. All right, thank you.
Cochran, 507 Charlestown Road. I know nothing about cars, trucks, nothing. I see here that, is it a new truck, the 2024 Ford F550 regular cab chassis 4x4? Is it a brand new?
Yes.
So this is 123,000, right? Don't we get good financing from these companies, like 1.3 financing?
We've been trying to not, take on any new debt for the township, so we have about after June, we'll have about $165,000 worth of debt. We have talked about, now that most of the debt is paid off, Mr. Lindsay brought up, a lot of municipalities are leasing, the lifespan, so we are gonna look at that for the next, but, there's been a lot of resistance to doing that up until recently.
I suppose municipalities are good customers, you could get a very good financing.
I agree, and we did that at one point, and then I met.
Because it seems a lot all.
Up
Okay.
until 2018, that's how we did it all, and then we met resistance for any kind of financing at all. And we've been paying out of pocket, and I think we probably have a committee with a little bit of an appetite to discuss that going forward.
Okay, thank you.
Can you just,
Does everybody else have theirs? No.
didn't he just buy a Ford F1 something or other, like 2 years ago?
It just came in, so I think that's the payment, we've been trying to ride, we agreed to purchase it like 2 years ago. There's like a 2-year time frame on this truck, but yes, but it's just a ride.
Oh, so that's the one that you guys were talking about 2 years ago?
Yes.
What's the one he's driving around now, the gray one, the pickup?
That was, just a regular pickup truck, that was, yeah, this is a plow truck and dump truck. Yeah, and this year's budget, we're replacing one car with the big dump trucks, but that won't be here till, I don't know, at least a year from now.
So but the one Paul was talking about is the one that was discussed 2 years ago?
Yes.
I remember.
Yes,
Okay.
yes, that's the tough part too, the horizon on these, and we purchased them through co-op, but and we do, like, that truck's 123, but we have to buy that, put on it through the co-op, which is another $40,000 about, I don't say that's the exact number, but it takes time to get the trucks built to us. We have talked about potentially leasing, we've talked about looking at completed trucks at other locations, but these are all through co-ops as well.
Just one little short question. Can we get this screen relocated?
Before the meeting, our intent, speaking of being cheap, I had a audio video company come in. We were applying for DCA grant to do some audio video and some other improvements in the community center. They've given us some advice. We talked about the budget. We're probably gonna just try to mount the TVs ourselves and get them on the side of the wall so that one can face you, one can face us. And then eventually we'll try to upgrade a little bit more, but.
More speakers, because like when Mr. Lindsay talks, I can hardly hear.
Yeah,
Sorry, can you hear me now?
Yeah, not to just, but the other thing is, like, we have these speakers, we tried them, but they make new speakers that are more directional so that they're better for this room. So there is technology, we've talked about it, we just want it appropriate.
That was a lot.
No, thank you. We're aware, trying. Thank you. Motion to close public comment?
Make a motion to close public comment?
Second?
All in favor? Aye. We take any action on the personnel issue? Well, that's the one, no. Yeah, it's about earlier. Okay, motion to enter executive session, to discuss personnel, no action to be taken in public. So Lou, we can close the meeting.
Night.
The executive session. So, second, all in favor?
Aye.